सगळ्यांक येवकार मातानी सल्दाना मेमोरियल फाउंडेशनाच्या ह्या वर्सुकी पॅनल डिस्कशना भितर येवकार आणि हाचो विशय जो आसा तो बरोच भारदस्त गडगंज आसा एंड दॅट टॉपीक इज वेदर गोवा हॅज एक्सिडेड इट्स कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी. कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी म्हणटा तेन्ना कसली कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी, ती मेजप कशी, थारावप कोणें आनी मानप कोणें, अशे वेगवेगळे आस्पेक्ट्स त्या विशयाक आसात. आनी लकीली वी हॅव अ पॅनल टुडे जे प्रत्येक वेगवेगळ्या आस्पेक्टाचेर उलोवपाक शकता. स्टार्ट करतना म्हाका एकच गजाल याद जाता ती म्हळ्यार महात्मा गांधी वन्स सेड दॅट दिस वर्ल्ड इज इनफ फॉर एवरीबडीज नीड बट नॉट फॉर एवरीबडीज ग्रीड. नीड खंय सोंपता आनी ग्रीड खंय सुरू जाता. आय थिंक देर इज अ व्हेरी व्हेरी फायन लायन टू इट. कॅन वी डिफायन दॅट लायन अँड कॅन वी एडहेअर टू इट थ्रू आउट. हाजेर भासाभास करतले. हांव सगळ्यात पयलीं सुरवात करता ते डॉक्टर नंदकुमार कामत आसा आमचे बरोबर आनी एक सर प्रश्न सादो आहा प्रत्येकाक. सुरवातेक हांव 2-2 मिनटां दिता फॉर युअर ओपनिंग रिमार्क्स अँड देन वील ओपन इट फॉर द पॅनल. हाऊ डू यू डिफायन कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी अँड हाऊ डू यू मेजर इट आनी हॅज गोवा रियली एक्सिडेड इट्स कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी अशें आमकां दिसता.
कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी हो शब्द ह्या व्यासपिठाचेर चलना कित्याक हो फक्त इकॉलॉजी आनी बायोलॉजीतूच आमी यूज करतात. आमचो खरो मुद्दो आसूंक जाय चर्चेचो तो गव्हर्नन्स. गव्हर्नन्स म्हणजे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आमी वाचला काय ना, गोंयांतले 300 कायदे हांगा वाचून लोक आयल्यात काय ना, ते कायदे राजभासीन उपलब्ध करून तळागाळान पावला काय ना, मायक्रो प्लॅनिंग आनी मायक्रो गव्हर्नन्स हाजेरूच गोंयचो फुडार आसा. आमी जे सिनेरियो बिल्डअप करतले ताजेर कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी पृथ्वीची कितली आसा हांगाच्यान आमी सुरवात करपा जाता इकॉलॉजिकल बायोलॉजिकल. पूण प्रस्न तो ना. प्रस्न आमी इकॉलॉजिकल बायोलॉजिकल कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी हांगा डिफायन किंवा क्वांटिफाय करूंक म्हाका दिसता हो हांगा परिसंवाद ना. प्रमोद बाब म्हणटकीच म्हज्या मुखार एक मूलभूत प्रस्न उपस्थित जाता हांगा तो म्हळ्यार असो की सगळ्यान व्हडलो आमचे कडेन एसेट आसा. हांव जरी मातशें एक अतिताय जाली तरी सांगूंक शकता ती म्हणजे गोंयकाराची इंटेलेक्च्युअल कॅपॅसिटी सोंपली. जर गोंयकाराची इंटेलेक्च्युअल कॅपॅसिटी सोंपूंक ना जाल्यार ह्या प्रश्नाचें उत्तर अशें आसा की कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी म्हणटा ती कितें. ही सिंगापुरी 700 स्क्वेअर किलोमिटरान 53 लाख लोक रावतात आनी तांचे $256 बिलियन इतलें आज इन्कम आसा. गोंयकाराची जी आज घटसाण आसा, जी आमची स्ट्रेंथ आसा ती 1965 सिंगापूर खंयच नाशिल्लें. आमी सिंगापूरकारां परसय बी गोंयांनी आख्खे संवसार अख्खें गोंय गाजयल्लें आसा. म्हणटकीच आमी सिंगापुराच्या बाबतीन तुलनेन खंयच फाटीं ना. म्हणटकीच प्रस्न आसा प्रमोद बाब की खरोखरच कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी गोंयची जी आसा म्हणटा तो विशय आमी मायक्रो प्लॅनिंग मायक्रो गव्हर्नन्स हांगा व्हरपाक जाय. ह्या दोन मुद्द्यां
हांव मिलींद तुमकां येता ह्याच विशयाचेर तुमी कशी जज करता ती कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी. आनीक दिसता की थ्रेशोल्ड लिमीट आमी क्रॉस केला काय अजुनूय वाव आसा आनी फुडें वचपाक.
कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी हे एक स्टॅटीक मापदंड ना. कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी 3 गोश्टीन हांव मेजर करतलो. एक पास्ट, एक प्रेझंट आनी एक फ्युचर. पास्टाचे अशे आसा गोश्टी आमचे कडेन की जे आमकां फुडार आपल्या फ्युचर जनरेशना खातीर दवरूंक जाय आमकां. आनी ते कितें आसा, ती गोश्टी कितें आसा, कित्याक टेक्नॉलॉजी हॅज चेंज, टायम हॅज चेंज, सोसायटी हॅज चेंज and our entire standards have changed. There are 2 elements of the past. One is an element of past which we require to keep and one is an element of the past which we require to renew, refurbish for the present use. Now there you have got a different carrying capacity synonym. In the present also I would talk of this also is that see every generation has to leave their stamp and every generation has got their say in history. That means it doesn't mean that things of the past only are good. Things in the present also are going to be have to be good and things in future also have to be good. So we have to have available opportunities of development even in the present. Now how well we devise this development, whether we are having the right thought process, that means we are taking 9 months to conceptualize a project and take 9 days to deliver a project. I think this is where things are going wrong. We are not deliberating on what we need to do. how we need to do, and do it in a responsible manner so that the implementation is systematic and is not a waste of money. Second issue what I want to really talk of here is priority. Is that आम्ही म्हणता दोन हातून हे आसा, has Goa exceeded its carrying capacity? First of all of us should question what is Goa. What is Goa is different for all of us, and for every aspect in society, Goa has got a different synonym and connotation. So this Goa has to be, we have to come with a common objective as to where we need to take Goa. Okay, and what is that development that is desirable for Goa? I think that is the deliberation that we require to talk of. Then the second issue comes of carrying capacity, as Nandakumar told that carrying capacity is a very technical issue. Is something which can be deliberated all over, and it doesn't have a single connotation where we all can come on to one figure. But what is the भावार्थ कितें ताजो कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी? ओके, कितें आमी कितें करता तें आमी आमचे अर्थ आमचे गोंयाक आमी हार्म करना. कितले लेवल पर्यंत करतले, कशें करतले, कितले लेवल, कसले टायपाचो प्रोजेक्ट आसतलो, कितें आमचें फुडारपण आसतलें तातूंत, ते संदर्भान ते कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटीचो भावार्थ सारको जाता. इतलेंच म्हाका.
There is an interesting point of view. It's more about reckless planning and misplaced priorities rather than the carrying capacity itself. You agree with that?
No, you took the words out of my mouth when you said what Mahatma Gandhi had said, that there is enough for everyone's need, but there's not enough for everyone's greed. So that's the key thing, and who is responsible for that is us. So I don't think that we have reached our capacity. He has given you a very good example of how much we can do without damaging, but what is happening is that we are silent. There's no voice to a lot of people who will be talking in their balcony or whatever. And then we do another worse thing. We go and elect, I won't say 40, but I'll say 75%, so that I'm safe.
So 30?
No, I say 75% we elect, who are not thinking of anything about Goa but themselves. And the remaining who are opposition, they give them a road in their constituency because next time. And they break a coconut and the road is done. So we are not thinking holistically. And let's look at some of the things that, to give some examples of where we are saying maybe industrially, we have no land, we are crying. SEZ was a good concept. According to me, the giving of that land was fraudulent. Now today the government is thinking of settling with these guys because they need the land to put industry. Are we thinking only of today? Don't our children, grandchildren's children would need land to start industry? Let's take 50 years in the court and get that land back after 50. We still have some requirement. Okay, so 150,000 square meters is in Naveli for the last 15 years with people like the steel industry. Now they've got doing it in 5,000 square meters. Today they've been given permission and a special cabinet decision overriding the IPB, which is by itself a superpower, which threw it out. Cabinet sat on it and decided, okay, we'll give it to them. What do we need a steel industry? 50,000 square meters. Then you take the case where Mathani himself was fighting for metal strips. A corn operation from the beginning took 2 lakh square meters, used 20,000, and today they're looking at selling it for some 80 crores. When they bought it at 30 rupees and the guy who owned it or the commandant got 2-3 rupees. And this is sitting there and we are watching. And of course the proposal is in the government and it will be sorted out. So it's nothing to do with carrying capacity. It's a deficiency of thought, and maybe what one goal is a vision for what Goa should be.
Well, it's a very interesting point. Where does the buck stop? It stops at those whom we elect in the assembly, or it stops at us because we elect them in the assembly? Where does the buck of holistic thinking? We use this word number of times, but we always criticize ourselves for not doing it. So where does it stop?
No, you're asking me that question.
Yeah.
The buck, I don't want to answer that question about where the buck stops, because everybody will point fingers at other people. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when you talk of carrying capacity, who do you want to carry along with you? You want to carry the existing population? You want to carry the floating population with you? You want to carry a future population or you want to carry a second home population? I think these are some of the fundamental questions we should be asking. And therefore the questions are, what are your priorities as a governance mechanism? What are your priorities as a society? I think one should frame the issue in terms of, are you giving adequate health care? Are you giving adequate transport? Are you fulfilling the basic needs of people? What about education? These are the kind of things that we ought to look at, how you are fulfilling the aspirations of the existing population in these basic things. And here we are really falling short. I mean, you can build 5 bridges over the Mandovi and you'd still have overcapacity of cars and vehicles, because there's just no space, there's no public transport. So every teenager who's just out of college thinks, how am I going to get from point A to point B when the school bus is not there? So you have to buy him a two-wheeler. 70% of the 10,000 odd vehicles that are registered in Goa are two-wheelers. So what does that say about the transport system?
This is a very interesting point. जो मेरेन आमच्यो बेसिक नीड्स फुलफिल जायनात, म्हळ्यार एक 24 वरां उदक किंवा अनइंटरप्टेड पावर सप्लाय, व्हेरी स्ट्रॉंग ट्रान्सपोर्ट, पब्लीक ट्रान्सपोर्ट, तो मेरेन कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी खूब मुखाल्ली गजाल. जेन्ना आमी ह्यो सगळ्यो गजाली करून जेन्ना मुखार आमी धांवतात तेन्ना कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटीचो प्रश्न येता. आमी इतले फाटल्यान आसता. यू एग्री विथ दॅट?
No, actually we are not behind. We are quite forward. But unfortunately, we lack an integration. I mean, you need to have an integrated approach. Today, every one of us are paying the price for federal structure of this country. The center and the state is disconnected. State within the state is disconnected. With the municipality, you don't have a control. Everything is considered as like, independent bodies, autonomous bodies. You look at Panjim parking plaza. It is ready, right? It is from the public taxpayers' money, parking plaza was constructed. Now municipality is not giving you a permission to another government body, and no one is in a position to do anything about it. All of us are quiet. We are suffering just because of their internal politics, right? And you say it's your independence, right? It's misuse. So there is a disconnect. Within the central government, between 2 ministries and 2 departments, there is no integration. You look at the various departments, they don't talk to each other. Let's say Goa, now Manama Goa Port Trust or Railway, I don't think a state chief minister has any control, or any state body has a direct control over it, and there is a disconnect. So this is the way we are functioning today, and probably we have enough carrying capacity, but our utilization is bad. Now you look at water. In Goa, 80% of the water goes to sea. So you need to build up catchment areas. You need to work over it. Today our population, there is an unplanned approach. We have 14.5 lakh population, but what is the floating population is very high. So sometimes that is also creating a problem. So we need to freeze or have a proper structured population policy. The wise genes, the intelligent governments are going out, the engineers are going out, and the laborers are coming in from different parts of the country. I am not saying that they are not required, they are required, but the intelligent class of the governments is getting replaced with the laborers. Even you can't only blame industries for that. Today more than 15 to 20,000 maids, working maids are coming from the eastern part of the country. So we need to understand it is not only a particular sector which is demanding. We need to create an ecosystem, and the ecosystem is not planned. And I agree with Nandu. He has actually highlighted the problem. There is a gap, and you can't only blame politicians. Today, to build up infrastructure, today 38% is just paid on the salaries of the government employees. Today we have highest ratio of government employees in the state. So if 38% is paid and balance 25% is paid towards debt servicing, what is left for you for development and other expenses? So we need to look at in a holistic way. We also need to understand we escape our responsibilities by blaming politicians. End of the day, political system in a democratic setup, you will get what you deserve. Because politics is the reflection of the society. No one is coming from heaven. Everyone is elected among ourselves. So the societal transformation is the most important aspect, and integration is the most important key. And I agree with Nandu, planning with governance. We need to work on governance. and we can use technology to improve our governance. Today, the corruption is still on. You can't blame everything, you can't blame Parrikar. Everything like it has become is a casino. For example, I was the first one who was opposing, even Sabina has done a good job. She was opposing, but where is the support for her? There is no support. So casinos were not required for the state. Now, having brought, you have created a value chain, so many people became dependent on it. Today, for any, if I am anti-casino, let me be very open and vocal about it. But even tomorrow, I am given a responsibility to deal with it. It's difficult. There is no mass support. You see what happened with mining. Everyone was opposing, but ultimately when 8,000 people came on the road, the government also had to go and distribute money. 180 crores to 200 crores were used for distribution. That was actually from the state treasury. That was wrong, but there were compulsions. So we need to understand why all such thing happens. So education about the carrying capacity and the future is very important to the people. Corruption will get reduced or eliminated only the society is prepared to understand
Okay.
this.
Now, this is a very interesting argument. That societal transformation is the step one. The thoughts about carrying capacity and then holistic planning comes much later because then you get matured enough to think about and plan about these aspects. We are still not there. You agree with that?
See, I look at this topic from the ecosystem point of view. Basically, I'm a geologist. Okay. Now, if we draw a section from the Western Ghats down to the sea, what do we have? We have the high hills, we have the forested belt. Let's say you come down from Anmod, you come down to Molin. Then you have the smaller hills. Then you reach Banastari. Banastari is right here, this side. Okay. And then north, south, and west, you have the coastal lowlands. You have the paddy fields, you have the Kazan lands, you have the creeks, the tidally influenced water bodies, and when you go further towards the west, you have the beach dune system. Now, what is happening along this profile of mine? I'm doing a profile now from the top to down. Okay, which of these systems is getting impacted, and that is where this carrying capacity comes in terms of ecosystems. Okay, now when we talk of human impact on a system, there are two types of impacts. You have a reversible impact and you have the irreversible impact. Now, if you destroy a forest, you can get it back. A forest can be regenerated. Okay. If I fill up a paddy field or a Kazan land, I can restore it for you without any problem. You don't need any science there. But if you meddle with the beach dune system, the consequences can be drastic. Okay. Now, I can give you a proof of what happened in Kandoli. A big ship got stuck there. What happened? We have lost 85 meters of coast because we have worked on it, we have measured it. There has been a coastal retreat of 85 meters at Sinkeri because of this artificial groin that was created. And now if you compare it along the west coast of India, the amount of land that was lost is unprecedented as far as the rate of retreat is concerned. It comes to 1 meter per year.
You are not only representing government here, you are representing politicians. And so, yeah, it is really in the hot seat. You are sitting next to me. So,
I have a question.
no, I'll take the questions later. I'll take the questions later. You'll have to write them down and give it to us.
It is very important.
No, not now. I'm not allowing questions now. No way. Please. The point is very, very simple. Ultimately, कोणे तरी प्लॅनिंग करपाचें आसता. प्लॅनिंग करपाच्या परिस्थिती भितर तुमी आसता. मिलिंद बाब आसूं, ब्लेज आसूं, नितीन आसूं, सगळे जाण येवन तुमकां सजेशन दितले. एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट येवन तुमकां सजेशन दितले. नाव यू ऑल्सो कम फ्रॉम अ मायनिंग एरिया विच इज heavily criticized for exceeding the carrying capacity. How do you, as a politician, look at this term and where the buck stops? I'm again coming to that.
Well, first of all, I will put myself into the carrying capacity, and I should go back to my ancestors. And my grandfather was a farmer. My father was a barrister. I am an engineer. So where do I start the carrying capacity from? Do I go back to my ancestors and see what my ancestors were doing, and I tell the children that I should follow the footsteps of my ancestors? And if you go to see, what I am very point blank saying is, we don't understand what the carrying capacity is. Today, a farmer child has become an engineer, as me. My ancestors were farmers. A fisherman's child has also gone and become a doctor. somebody else, a carpenter's son has become somebody else. I mean, you don't know what to do carrying. So he doesn't know what he wants. He wants to be the best today. And when you say he wants to be the best, then we have to identify what we have to do carry. So when we say we have to carry our society in Goa, we, as everybody has said on this forum today, that we should find people staying back in Goa. Now when we say Goan staying back in Goa, we should devise mechanism for the brain which is there in Goa to stay back in Goa. When this brain has to stay back in Goa, what do we have to do for them? What can we do for them is the question first to be asked. And if we are going to say all these questions, then the other question is whether this brain which is there in Goa is satisfied with the money what they are going to get, or whether with the salary what they are going to draw, whether they are satisfied to stay back in Goa or they want for greener pastures outside Goa. So if you go to see all this, we don't know what is the carrying capacity. And I personally, as a politician, and you have put me into a situation where I am into both. So as a politician, we can't decide, because as a politician, frankly telling you, I want to get elected in the next assembly elections. So when I have to get elected in the next assembly election, I have to take all the people's viewpoint and go ahead. And when I go to somebody, ask the viewpoints, I will never get a single viewpoint which will be common. And when you will not get a single viewpoint which is common, where do I stand? Where do I stay? And where do I have? So then you should curtail. Then the democracy should be that one time a politician elected, there should be no second time politician coming into this place. Then I think there will be a much better viewpoint which will happen. So we have to change our democratic system. It's okay, you get elected once, you give your views, you go ahead. Second time you cannot stand by. And then I think Goa will go, or India for that will go in a different level. This is what I have to say.
That's a very weird suggestion coming from a politician.
One term.
धनकुमार एक गजाल जो एक कॉमन थ्रेड जो आसा तो म्हळ्यार कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटीचो मुद्दो खूब मागीर येता. पयलीं एज अ सोसायटी वी शूड बी अप टू इट टू अंडरस्टँड इट, अंडरस्टँड अवर लिमिटेशन्स, अंडरस्टँड अवर ग्रोथ, आनी एक बेजीक एम्युनिटीज सगळे फुलफील जातकीर मागीर ह्या विशया कडेन वचप. तुमी कशें करून पळयता?
हांव पयलीं पळयता की म्हाका आज 10 लाख रुपया पगार आसा जाल्यार हांवें समाजाक कितले दिले. हांगा चर्चेन वांटो घेता आसतना आनी माथानी बरोबर प्रचार सभान ताज्या केल्ल्या भाशणाची म्हाका याद जाता. जेन्ना माथानी कोणूच राजकीय फुडार आसा अशें चिंतनाशिल्लें तेन्ना ताजे बरोबर इराज्म सिकेरा बरोबर आनी विक्टोरिया फर्नांडिसा बरोबर आमी सभांनी भाशणां करून ताका निवडून हाडपाचें तेन्ना आमी लोकांक आवाहन करताले आनी ताजे खातीर आमी तुरुंगांनी गेल्ले आसात. हांव विचार करता की हांवें कल्चरल पॉलिसी ह्या स्टेटीक दिली, सरकारा कडच्यान एक पयसो घेनासतना. आज आमच्या टुरिझम डिपार्टमेंटाचे कन्सल्टंट 4.5 कोटी रुपया घेवन रद्देन उडोवपाची असली आमकां मास्टर प्लॅन करून दिवपाक लागल्यात. आनी हाज्या बद्दल आमी कोणाकच केन्नाच जाप विचारूंक सोदनात. हांव मायक्रो प्लॅनिंग आनी मायक्रो गव्हर्नन्स हाजेर ह्या खातीर उलोवंक सोदतां की पयलीं प्रत्येक नागरिकान घटना वाचपाक जाय, प्रत्येक नागरिकान गोंयचो एकूण एक कायदो वाचूंक जाय. आनी आमची विधानसभा कशी चलता, 73व्या आणि 74व्या घटना दुरुस्ती प्रमाणे जे काब्रालाच्या भाजपान आश्वासन दिल्लें, आमी डिसेंट्रलायज करतले सरकार आनी लोकांचे जे हक्क आसात ते लोकांपर्यंत दितले, ते तुमी कित्याक दिवंक ना? ते जर आज दिल्ले जाल्यार हो परिसंवाद हांगा घेवपाची कांयच गरज नाशिल्ली. कित्याक ते सगळे अधिकार बाकीच्या गुजरात जेन्ना भाजपाचे राज्य आसा, मध्य प्रदेश आसा, ते तांणी दिल्ले आसात. म्हणटकीच मायक्रो लेवल प्लॅनिंगाचेर हे खुबशे टावन कंट्री प्लॅनिंग पासूनचे इश्यू प्रमोद बाब सोंपतात थंय. उरलो इश्यू आसा तो गोंयान कसले बाबा डेव्हलपमेंटल मॉडेल स्विकारना ते आमी केन्नाच एकाय राजकीय पक्षाक केन्नाच विचारूंक ना. कित्याक विचारूंक ना जाल्यार तो म्हणटा त्या प्रमाणे लोकांचे आतां वेगवेगळे जर हें आसत जाल्यार मागीर लिडरशीप म्हणटा ती कितें, मोरल आनी एथिकल लिडरशीप आमच्या गोंयान राजकीय लोक कितले उलयतात, तांकां जुगाराचो पयसो कित्याक जाय, त्यो सोरती कित्याक विकून आज रेव्हेन्यू कलेक्ट करतात. आणि रेव्हेन्यूची लिकेज आमी सगळ्यांनी पॅनलिस्टांनी विचारून घेवया. नितीन बाब आसा आमचो, बाकीचो आमचो हो आसा बीर बाब आसा आनी बाकीचे आमचे सगळे देविका सिक्वेरा सारखे आसात. हांव गोवा स्टेट प्लॅनिंग बोर्डाचो मेंबर म्हणून अधिकारान उलयतां. आज आमी अशें सरकार पळयतात, अशें आमी आज एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पळयता, ते 4 बंद जाता ऑफिस, ते सोमारा दीस सकाळी 11 पर्यंत गोंयान सरकार नासता. मामलतदार उबारना फोन, तलाटी फोन उबारना, कलेक्टर फोन उबारना. पब्लीक इंट्रस्टाचे कितेंय काम जर घेतलें हातान जाल्यार फोन उबारना. गव्हर्नराक हांवें सांगलां तांच्या उजीर मुख्यमंत्र्याक सांगला ताजे उचीर हे प्रशासनच आमकां कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी बी कितें आसा ताजेर गंभीरपणान विचार करूंक लायता कारण मुख्य मुद्दो हांगा आसा तो आमी विसरल्यात. बरें प्रशासन जर आमी तयार करपी अशें सरकार दिलें जाल्यार खुबशे प्रस्न आसात ते गोंय सारक्या ल्हान राज्यान सुट्टात.
This is a very interesting point. Micro governance and ultimately going to the grassroots and allowing them to govern. हातूंतल्यान प्रश्न सुट्टले. You agree or you have a different view?
Absolutely
आणि वाटतलें.
different view.
You have absolutely different view.
Absolutely.
Okay.
गोंयांत जर करप्शन पळयलें सगळ्यांत बेस्ट धंदो चल्ला म्हणटा तो एज्युकेशनाचो गांवांनी. बाकीचे धंदे जाम जाल्यात पूण एक एज्युकेशनाक करप तुजो प्रोजेक्ट अर्द्या एरियेसर रावप मागीर ताका आडकाडी हाडप हे गांवांनी आतां चालू आसा खुबश्या गांवांनी. थोड्या गांवांनी जेन्युइन आसा थोड्या लोकांक खरें अपसेट पूण एक थोडे ते लोकल राजकीय लोक असतात आनी हो धंदो सुरू केला आनी तेन्ना शेल्टर खंयचे घेतात शेल्टर घेतात की ग्रामसभेक हो अधिकार म्हणून. हांव 1-2-3 ग्रामसभा पळोवपाक गेलो तिगूच जाण बोवाळ भरतात 200 लोक आशिल्ले थंय कोण म्हणना ते म्हणटा वी आर इन फेवर तिगूच जाण मोठे मोठ्यान बोवाळ भरतात. हांव बेश्टोच पळोवपाक गेलो जस्ट टू अंडरस्टँड हो कॉन्सेप्ट कसो आसता काय म्हणून. मागीर विचारल्यार हाजेवन बालो जमनीचो इशू आसा तो रेट चड मागता म्हणून इशू. रेट हो दुसरो मुद्दो पूण डेव्हलपमेंट हो दुसरो मुद्दो. म्हळ्यार गांवच्या जेन्ना विकासाक लागून कितें येता तेन्ना आपले बाबा मर्यादा कितें आपले स्ट्रेंथ कितें वॉट आय शूड सजेस्ट यू शूड बिकम पार्ट ऑफ सोल्युशन नॉट पार्ट ऑफ प्रॉब्लेम. फॉर एक्झाम्पल आतां चिखले एअरपोर्ट म्हणटात पळय आमी गोंय एक असो जागो आसा वेर एअरपोर्ट सीपोर्ट आनी रेल्वे इज जस्ट विदीन 8 किलोमिटर्स जगांक आनी अशें खंयच ना. बट गोवा ऑल्सो इज वन प्लेस वेर नथींग इज इंटग्रेटेड. एअरपोर्टाच्या कडल्यान 200 मिटराचेर रेल्वे वता पूण तुका रेल्वे इज नॉट कनेक्टेड टू द एअरपोर्ट. सो यू सी द फ्लायट एक सेकंड क्लासान बॉम्बेच्यान मनीस येता रेल्वेन कोंकण रेल्वे 500 रुपया पे करून ताका करमळी साकून हांगा येवपाक 500 रुपया लागतात. सो समवेर वी एज सिटीजन्स आर नॉट अवेर अँड टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटग्रेशन. सो गांवांक जर तर सगळे अधिकार दिले इट इज इजी टू से 73rd and 74th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन गांवांनी पयशे घेवन थोड्या सरपंचांनी अप्रुवलां दिली नात. So there has to be a movement against corruption, a very disciplined, a structured movement against corruption. And corruption is not solved by politician or someone not taking money. The कायदे आणि कानून जे आसात पळय आमी the justice delivery system is poor. आज इतले कित्याक केसी उरल्यो ताजो फायदो बिझनेसमॅन जावं कोणी घेता जो बेनिफिशरी आसा तो घेता. सो जस्टीस डिलिव्हरी सिस्टम इंटग्रेट जावपाक देर शूड बी गव्हर्नन्स इन ज्युडिशरी एंड पोलीस रिफॉर्म्स. आज पोलिसांक करप्शन म्हणटात आमी पूण तांची सिस्टम पळय देर इज नो फॅसिलिटेशन. सो वी नीड टू लूक ॲट सोसायटल प्रॉब्लेम्स लिंक टू करप्शन. करप्शन इज अ डिजीज. सो वी आर talking about symptoms of corruption but we are not treating the disease. So that treatment of disease is very important and corruption is a cause why the rural and the village development or panchayat level development is stuck. म्हळ्यार सरपंचाक आनी 4 जाणांक तर तुवें घेतलें तुजो पास.
दिस इज व्हेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. मिलिंद बाबा एक गजाल म्हाका सांगा जेन्ना आमी कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटीची विचारता आनी उलयता आमचे कडेन जर इतली बेजीक गजाली आमच्या जाग्यार ना. हाजा नितीनाच तर सामको सरळ जाहीर आरोप आसता की ग्रामसभांनी खुबशे प्रोजेक्ट्स तुगेले हॉस्टेज घेतल्यात. एज्युकेशन म्हणटा तो बिझनेस जाला म्हणून. इतली जर बारीक गजालींचेर जर आमचे मदीं इतली कुफुसांव आसा कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी बी म्हणटा ते खूब मुखाल्ले मुद्दे न्ही.
कित्या खातीर जाता हांव तुका सांगता. घरान कोण हें ना शिस्त हाडपी ना. वेन द गव्हर्मेंट इट सेल्फ इज वीक and cannot enforce and cannot command decision making process, all these issues take place. It's very important to understand this Gram Sabha in Zatats. I agree with Nitin is that it is white collared blackmailism that is going on in this thing. So it's, see, there's one part of this that we are talking of genuine concerns and genuine things put forward, but the genuine people are just made to keep shut by some goons in the Gram Sabha. You keep your mouth shut, you know. So this is the issue. Now म्हजो प्रश्न असो आसा हाजेर एक घोडो आसा आनी एक चलोवपी घुडसवार आसा. आतां तूं कितल्या पर्यंत घोड्याक स्वताच्या अकलेर चलोवंक दितलो. इज डेमोक्रेसी. आय एम सेयींग इज दॅट आय एम क्वेश्चनिंग द प्रिमायस ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी इट सेल्फ. इज दॅट डेमोक्रेसी इज द रूल ऑफ द मेजॉरिटी. अँड ॲज पर दिस इज अ हायपोथेसिस आय एम पुटिंग टू द रूम. It's just a thought point to ponder. Everyone in, and there is a triangle in society. That means you will have top people who will be intelligent, who will be decision makers and everything, and as you go down in the triangle, and democracy is formed on that. If democracy is a representation of the majority, it is a representation of the lower part of the triangle. How do the aspirations of the lower part of the triangle manifest in a decision making process by the top part of the triangle? I think that is where the key is. And unless the politician or the decision making bureaucracy or the consultants, whoever are there in that position, are in a strong position to determine the mood of the lower half of the triangle, these issues will keep on happening.
Now this is एक गजाल
मॉडरेटर एकूच रिक्वेस्ट आसा की हांगा हांव मातसो अस्वस्थ जाला हाजे खातीर माथानीच्या नांवान आमी एजिटेशन जे करतात कित्याक आमी तुरुंगान गेल्ले आसात ताका लागून नायलॉन 6 बी सगळे प्लांट आमी बंद करून दाखयले. म्हाका एकूच रिक्वेस्ट करपाची ह्या पॅनलिस्टांनी स्पेसिफीक सांगचे खंयच्या पंचायतीन पयशे घेवन गुंडगिरी कोणे ग्रामसभा केल्या. आमी सगळे पेपर वाचतात. अशेंच गोलमाल उलयतलो जाल्यार हांव प्रत्येक मंत्र्यान ह्या मंत्रिमंडळाचे कसो पयसो केला ते आतां वाचून दाखयता. आत्ताचे आत्ता आनी कमिशनाक येवपाचे धंदे कशे चालू आसात हांव स्पेसिफिकली सांगता म्हजेर जाय जाल्यार डिफेमेशन घालत.
Okay. Now this is I will come to you.
He has made an allegation. See,
I will come to you. I'll come to you.
लोकांच्या अधिकाराचो इशू येता 73 74 तेन्ना आमी लोकांक भ्रष्ट ठरयतात. हीच परंपरा
No, I'll take Nitin on this because he countered, he made that.
तुम्ही नाव सांगात अमकी
Correct. I'll take him. No,
हांगा इंडायरेक्ट अटॅक हांगा चर्चीचेरी आसा हे म्हज्या लक्षात आयला. Attack is on
No, I'll
church
just
of
take
laws.
Nitin and I'll come to you. I'll just take Nitin and I'll come to you
Please
because
give specific example. गुंडगिरी कोण, पोलीस किती करतात, लॉ अँड ऑर्डर मशिनरी
Okay.
किती करतात,
Yeah.
हे सांगा
Okay.
स्पेसिफिकली.
Nitin,
खंयचे
I'll-
प्रोजेक्ट कोणे पैसे घेतले सांगा. लोकपाल असा, अँटी करप्शन ब्युरो असा, विजिलन्स डिपार्टमेंट असा. सांगा कितल्यो केसी केल्या, डिटेल दिया.
okay. Nitin, I'll allow you to respond and I'll move on to Pamela.
डोंट
Yeah.
से जनरली
Yes,
एज्युकेशनचा
correct.
धंदा केला म्हणून. आम्ही केला नी.
No, there are two type of
No,
things. I
few
said
specific things.
I was very
I'm also
specific.
under.
The way you made a point,
very
I'll just
specific.
take his response and then
I
I'll
was
go.
very specific. There were certain agitations were okay, but let me be very
No
frank.
proof.
I have seen it.
No proof.
I have seen it in
No,
very.
I've also seen how.
Don't tell me.
How,
I have seen
how
it in
government has silenced people. That also we have seen.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me all this.
There is a huge difference between industrialists who sacrifice and we who sacrifice.
Okay. Pamela, you wanted to make a point.
See, Pramod, the point is that if there is a who is really deciding? You're talking about the top half of the leadership. The top half of the leadership is not going to ask the people what they want. What you're having, what we see happening is that who is deciding that they're going to have a study on the carrying capacity for beach shacks. Have a study on the carrying capacity, how many hotels you can put up on a beach. Why does Kavilosi have 5 hotels? Nobody is asking these questions, right? So it is all a power game about who I will target. It's a class game, and according so if you're going to displace fishermen from their bay in the Sankwal, they're going to agitate. They're not going to say, come get your bulldozer and go over me. You can say that they have vested interest. How can you say they have vested interest in a panchayat? Nobody is going to allow it to happen.
Okay. Now, I'll take Blaze and then I'll come to Nilesh and I'll give you time to respond to all the allegations. There's a point, Nilesh, एक साधो हा. आपल्या म्हणतो फुडल्या निवडणुकीक जिखून येवपाक जाय. आता समजा तूं मोपाचो विशय घेतलो, पेडणेचे लोक तुका मोपाचेर एक सांगतले, साश्टीतली दुसरी सांगतले, काणकोणची तिसरी सांगतले. तूं मिडियम ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शनाचो विशय घेतलो, पेडणेची एक सांगतले, साश्टीतली दुसरी सांगतले, काणकोणची तिसरी सांगतले. लोक म्हळ्यार कोण आनी कोणाचें आयकुपाचें?
See, I think the suggestion made by Mr. Cabral that have one term, if it comes up in the assembly, even he won't support it. So let's not talk about it.
I said, I didn't say.
I will give you full time to respond.
So, and at the same time, the RP was pushed because of 73rd and 74th Amendment. But it cannot work because of what he said. There are some people who do these things and give a bad name to the rest. But I think maybe if we have to change something, let's look at this first past the post rule at the moment. So you have 10 people standing for election, 5 are put to split some votes and all, and one guy with 11 votes becomes the MLA. So 90% don't want him, but 10% is on. So why don't we have, okay, first round, all those who got, and finally you have 2, and one gets 50%, and then he has a better hold over what he's saying. Because
You want a league election, semi-final election, a final election?
maybe something like that. We need to do something, or we have to think, because otherwise we are just going to be going down the street. The ITI in Lolia, I feel it's a good idea. It will bring in the right type of people, intellectuals, and to come to that place, not necessarily, only laborers. But if you try to force it down those people, they are saying, there's a water problem. Of course I have a water problem, so what do you do? He's also already said that, he was talking to me earlier, that in the university they have successfully done recharge. So if you go and tell these people that we can do this and make sure it happens that way, because one of the things is there's a huge credibility deficit with the government. Any government, whether it is this or the previous one, its credibility is an issue. So they have to do something. So let's say they put this project and say, okay, this is your problem, this is a solution. But you can't brush them aside. You can't say you're just raising a thing because someone has paid you off. You have to acknowledge it.
There's एक important असा इशू की जो मिलिंद बाबाने काढिल्लो की अल्टिमेटली समाजा भितर वेगवेगळे व्यू पॉइंट्स आसतले प्रत्येक गजालीचे आसतले दॅट इज डेमोक्रेसी न्ही ते डिसेंट आसतलो डिबेट आसतले डायलॉगय आसतलो प्रश्न असो येता की जेन्ना एका गव्हर्नमेंटाक तुम्ही फुल मेजॉरिटी दितात आनी पावराक धाडटात that the government is expected to take a holistic view and take a stand. And ultimately even tell those who say no that this, we respect your no, but as a government we feel this is good for the state. हो स्टँड घेवपाक जेन्ना पॉलिटिशियन फुडल्या निवडणुकीचो विचार करून भिवपा लागतात तेन्ना प्रॉब्लेम सुरू जाता.
आता कितें जालां, I am here as a politician.
And you are here as a representative of the government also.
See, as a politician, all these are not politicians.
Okay.
So I have become one. You see,
You are the punching bag.
punching
I'm also
bag.
a politician.
But what
I'm
happens
also a
is-
politician. Huh?
No, I don't have to say about anything about Dr. Nandakumar. But what I have to say is whatever he said, don't go see Lakshan Dorpag. See, as a person, I can speak only for myself. I can't speak for the government. I can give my thoughts to the government. How the government will take forward is a question mark, because all the minds in the government should come to one focus. See, I will tell you my example. See, I come from a constituency named Kuchore. We have a garbage problem there. I as an individual is collecting garbage door to door from every household. And we had a garbage dump, which was there not because of me, it is there for last donkey's years. Now I go there and I tell the people that I want to put the most modern plant, or the plant which will take care of the garbage. And when I do so, we decide, okay, the 100-tonner plant which is going to come up here, which has come up here, would have been there. I get opposition around me. Why the opposition around me? Is because I dared to say as a politician, we have to find a solution to this problem. Who is the opposition? The opposition, who was my opposition, is creating an opposition so that the opposition builds up and they in turn are benefited. So where do I stand there? I stood my ground that yes, the plant has to come in, and I still today, 3 months from now, elections are there, I still stand the ground that a plant is required, a plant where government does not spend 1 rupee, but a person who is spending money on that plant. If the government has to give 1 rupee, then there will be allegations that government is giving 1 rupee, they are giving 2 rupees or 3 rupees. See, allegations will be made, but we could not find solutions for all these years. But somehow down the line we have found one solution. Temporarily it is functioning well. So such mechanism was supposed to be put in my constituency, but they created such a big mess that I am bringing garbage from outside. What is outside? Outside my constituency is called outside. I told them that people from Sanghe have sacrificed, they have moved from their places and become Wade Colony 1, Wade Colony 2, 3, 4, then they have shifted their residences there, and they are sacrificed and giving whole of South Goa water. So somebody is sacrificing.
Recently, it has been in the news and lots of discussions going on about taking over of our rivers and backwaters by the national body, and huge projects to be carried out, including dredging of the rivers and things like that, for which Mr. Mascarenhas will also know. Already, there is a huge amount of damage that has been done to all the Khazan land along the rivers. Any more dredging of this sort along the rivers, in the rivers, and activities of huge, bigger barges will destroy the rivers as we know them, will destroy all the agriculture along the Khazan lands which have been done by ancestors. We just want to know that this does not happen.
Whom do you want to respond?
Anybody, I mean,
Okay.
I would like Mascarenhas to give the first reply of the damage, because how the bridge was here, the whole of Vere beach went away, the whole of Coco beach went away. Miramar we could save thanks to Nand Kumar because that was being given over to private parties and all the other beaches. But if he starts over there, and then the political
Okay.
angle, because we want to
Okay,
know
we'll take-
that they will make sure that these rivers are not
we'll
given
take
over to
both.
the national body.
First,
Yeah, see, I think there is a huge debate whether rivers are a state subject or a national subject. Okay, in my opinion, a river is nothing but an arm of the sea. So it should be a national subject, but controlled locally. Like for example, the CRZ. You have the entire coastline of India that's governed under the CRZ rules. It's a national law. It's not Goa specific or Karnataka specific. Okay, but whatever is happening in Goa, there is a committee here that looks after the issues in Goa, in my opinion. Now, as far as dredging is concerned, well, rivers are an asset. Okay, in my opinion, rivers have to be navigable, but to what extent? Now, I will tell you, in the Coastal Authority, we had a meeting about a year back. There is some EIA that the NIU is doing at the moment, whether the spit at Chapara should be dredged or not, how much it should be dredged, what should be the orientation, and how much sand should be removed. Now there is another project of the Fisheries Department to put a groin there. Okay. Now I find that one department doesn't know what the other department is doing. Okay. In coastal management, it should be something that is cross-sectoral and not sectoral. This is a sectoral approach. Now the captain of ports wants to dredge this river, and the Fisheries Department wants to put a groin there. So I really do not know how to tackle this issue. Now, as far as dredging is concerned, maybe certain areas, maybe dredging is needed, but it should not be done recklessly. See what has happened in the River Sal. They have dredged the River Sal, and we had so many, boat rides there. Okay, I told them as a geologist, just from a common sense point of view, you restrict your dredging to the central 1/3 of the river channel, of the channel, yeah. So as to maintain the navigation channel. What they have done is they have gone to 2 meters along the entire river, at least some 3 or 4 kilometers, and the river banks have collapsed. Now, if this is being done, what more we can do? After suggestions, this is what happened.
This is a big fraud, and in the coming elections, people should reject nationalization of traditional waterways of Goa. 100%. If I say this in the name of the departed soul of Matani Saldana, because I had discussed this issue with him when we had a water conference. The reason is very simple. Other states are very large. Goa has a history of 2000 years of maritime trade and commerce across the Ghats. Central government doesn't know about it. They put shipping and navigation as their major objectives. There is no mention and acknowledgement of fisheries. They have simply forgotten that these rivers or inland waterways are lifelines, life support systems, ecologically and biologically diverse and productive systems of our रापणकार्स, कुटकार, कुटियाळी सगळी जी आज नुस्ती मारता जितली आसात, हजारांनी लोक, बारीक लोक, हे जे आज आसा तांचो विचार खंयच करूंक ना. केरळाक लायला, महाराष्ट्राक लायला, ओरिसाक लायला, तेच गोंयाक लायल्या, आणि या सगळ्या फिशरमॅनाचे फुडें कितें जातलें? व्हडल्यो व्हडल्यो बोटी येतल्यो, 6 आणि 8 मीटर जेन्ना ड्राफ्ट्स तुम्ही तयार करतले कॅपिटल ड्रेजिंग करून, हाज्या पयलीं हे ड्रेजिंग कोणे केल्लें? Why Portuguese government over last 200 years, when they got new conquest also, did not declare these inland waterways as Portugal's overseas national waterways? They had vapor service आशिल्ली सावर्ड्या मेरेन, निर्ला मेरेन, हळदोण्या मेरेन, कित्याक करूंक ना? तांणी पळयलें हांगा गांवांची कितें जाता ती. How the economic system, ecological system is integrated. All these records are there in archives. All these records have been researched and published. In no case, under no circumstances, there is need for 70 or 80 crore rupees which government of India is going to shell out for आमी इतले भिकेक लागूंक ना. गोंयचे राज्य तुमच्या हातान आमची शेणी दिवपाक, तुमकां आमचे इनलँड वॉटरवेज युनियन टेरिटरी करून उडोवपाक. एमपीटीन बेतला मेरेन युनियन टेरिटरी ऑलरेडी केल्ली आसा. काबराल बाबा की खबर आहा, असेंब्लीतले सगळे डिस्कशन ऑफ प्रुडंट मिडियाचेर पळयता, तांणी बी कन्सर्न आपलो व्यक्त केल्लो आसा. तांचे थोडे कंपल्शन्स आसात. आमकां मोवाचे बोट दाखयल्लें आसा की इतले पयशे येतले. आमचे लोक पयशे म्हळ्यार स्पेसिफिक्स कांयच ना. स्टेक होल्डर, हू आर द स्टेक होल्डर्स? माडगांवकर बाब, तुमकां इरोजनाचे बी लागता पूण स्टेक होल्डर कोण आतां जे स्पोर्ट्स फिशिंग बिशिंग करूंक बशिल्ले आसता तांकां फाल्यां लायसन्सां काडची पडली जाल्यार कितें करपाचें फाल्यां ते ऑप्शन करपाक सुरवात केलें जाल्यार सेंट्रल गव्हर्मेंटान कोण जबाबदारी घेतलो एमपीटीचे ऑडिट कोणें केला गोंया खातीर फायदो कितलो जालो ताजें ऑडिट कोणें केला खंय आसा ऑडिट
ओके पॉयंट क्विक रिस्पॉन्स की हो लोकांच्या तकल्याक भंय आसा आनीक थंय सरकार तुमचें हांगाय सरकार तुमचें सो तुमीच उलोवपाचें
पण कितें आसा पळय as Nandakumar Baba said that I was very vocal in the assembly. See, whether I am ruling or not ruling, that is a different issue. Whether I am MLA, I represent Goa, that is my concern. See, my concern ashilo, in the assembly I have also said, see, today it is not only Goa's water, it is all waterways of the entire nation they want to nationalize. It was specific to Goa, yes, opposition is required and we could have done it. Now, till as of today, still it is not specified what they mean by nationalization. They have not have a MOU with the state of Goa. It is just a vague subject. Only what Nandakumar Baba said that 80-90 crores will be given to you to dry. That's a vague subject.
We are getting labor class in and we are getting intelligentsia out. It's all intelligent people and we are landed with labor class. Now I'm saying, we have been talking, Milind Babu was talking about development, Nitin also. Now I want to ask that question, specific question to two of you. Development which is happening in Goa is for whom?
Okay. Whom do you want to ask that question? Nitin?
Can I respond?
Nitin.
Okay.
Nitin and Milind
Let
also.
Nitin
Nitin, you
respond.
respond.
Both
first.
will answer.
Okay.
See, again, I am coming to the main thought. Development has to be local community centric. And we need to come together and work. For example, it cannot happen just by getting the industries or something. From education to skill development, we need to work, create and empower. Goa's education system needs to be revamped to make it employable. Otherwise, you will create people. Today, the dropout rate is almost 35% and more. Are we working over it? We need to take these challenges further.
What I am asking Nitin Babu
Please,
is,
please
we are
let me
getting
complete.
steel rolling mills.
Not required for Goa.
We are getting industries which Goa has no labor.
You take my
Goa is labor
Please.
deficient.
Point taken. Let both of them respond.
Goa does not require steel rolling mills, and I have been opposing constantly. We should not have such kind of industries. But unfortunately, through wrong political mechanisms, such cases have been approved. Blaze is a witness how much we try to oppose. So the point is, why people are not coming forward and opposing such things? That's the point.
Okay.
I have not seen a public agitation on such units.
Okay.
When sunrise
We have seen Matani Saldana fasting on the jetty here on the road against Mehta Street. Right? We have
Point taken.
on Medastream when they wanted to transfer 1 and 2 years back. It is me who blocked it with blades.
Okay.
The reason is we don't want to support this kind of industries.
Milind.
See, development, I will just like to clarify my viewpoint on development. Development is an ongoing process and is of every generation. Okay. Now, what is being done in the name of development today, I am not agreeable to that in terms of, I have been always saying that putting 100 crores on one project is a waste of money and it has got other connotations. Instead of that, 100 crores is put on 10 or 15 different meaningful projects which actually touch, the lives of people. That is the type of development we need to talk of. Number one, when I am saying development, what is the issue? What are you after here? Now, for example, roads. We should talk of good public transport system. We are not talking of that. We are talking of larger roads and we are talking of roads for cars. Why is mobility not addressed? What is that requires? Let's understand this very clearly. Why does public transport not work in Goa? It is because public transport also has got a carrying capacity. That means if you have a bus to Aldona which has got only 6 people on the last bus to Aldona, that bus is definitely going to stop. So you should have development with critical volumes of sustenance of the infrastructure. This is what I am referring to. See, if you kone maan galo, and if it doesn't have the persons who are going to buy things from there, it is going to stop. So every activity has to be analyzed in terms, and that's why the word carrying capacity is very important in terms of this, because it is related to sustenance also. And that doesn't mean that I am talking that you should put a mall or other thing there. Question is that any activity that we do should be analyzed from what is required for sustaining that thing.
Just a small point and a question which perhaps Mr. Nilesh and Nitin or any other person could address. I think the debate within Goa also has to do with what is happening around Goa. So we cannot really think of Goa as an island which can remain disconnected with what's happening outside. And one indicator of carrying capacity which perhaps is quantifiable and easiest thing to judge is the population. So we all know that Goa has seen a change of profile as well as the quantum of population in the last 20 years. Now, would the panelists say that in terms of our population growth and also in terms of population size, I mean in link with what Florian just said, that in terms of population growth and 1/3 of population coming from outside the state, Goa has reached its carrying capacity. So with regard to migration specifically, what are the important issues involved?
Would you like to respond?
See, the development has to be structured. See, some nominal migration is inevitable if you are developing, but a migration which changes the identity and demography of the state is dangerous. Tomorrow you don't know who is going to get elected. Today we know for most of the areas, but that is something danger which we need to foresee. Today Goa has 3,98,000 population out of 14.57 lakhs, which does not belong to original Goa, at least for last 40-50 years kind of. So we need to understand where the future is heading to. So where are the economic policies going wrong? Where is the education pattern is required integration? So these are all interrelated topics and we have to structure it. Today you allow some industry which does not have a local talent and just for the sake of industry you allow it. Obviously it is going to lead to migration. No industrialist will put an industry and will keep quiet. He would seek. So planning needs to be very clear.
Okay.
So one more thing.
Yeah.
Another department is town and country planning. Danny. Most of the time we discuss about this reckless things and all. I have seen town and country planning department, except planning they do everything. Because it has become an enforcement department and licensing department. So this kind, we need to be driven by objectives. RTO. What is the job of RTO? RTO is not supposed to be sitting with a goggle on the road and stopping or something. Enforcement is consequential. Education and traffic planning and simulation is their main objective. They don't do this. Money.
Okay.
So
Please,
we
you
need
want
to
to
deal with
What
this.
I want to say is that,
Yeah.
When Chief Minister in the Assembly said town and country planning is the most current department, when Mr. Parikar said that the chief of the town planning should have been sacked. It didn't happen.
Okay.
I think the discussion was going on a very intellectual level at the beginning, and according to me, I speak as a lay person, and for me to understand what carrying capacity means, I would refer to two very obvious examples, and one of them is land vis-a-vis housing. Now in Goa, we know that you see construction sprouting all over, okay? And yet, the common man of this state cannot afford to buy that. And how much of this sort of housing can go on, in spite of the fact that it is not benefiting the locals and land is scarce?
I'll have Milind respond last question.
I think
Very interesting point.
it's a very
Yeah.
the gist of the issue is very point blank onto the issue. I feel that most of our policies address generic issues. That means they are made from somewhere, all our administrative governance, everything. Unless they have Goa-centric, objectives, of delivery of each of the department. You talk of police, you talk of RTO, you talk of town and country planning. because all of them are very, very technically done but do not have objectives. See, I always, even the regional plan, the first thing I said about a regional plan is, what are you trying to achieve for Goa? That should be clear, and the plan should be a mechanism to achieve those objectives. Similarly, any legislation or anything should be Goa centric. Then only all these objectives will converge.
राईट पॉइंट टू एंड इट. खूप प्रश्न असतात पण वेळ सोंपला, पण तुम्ही आयले इतली बरे तरेन वांटो घेतलो चर्चे भितर राईट पॉइंटाचेर. थँक्यू नंदकुमार फॉर टेकिंग इट टू अ राईट पॉइंट अँड हेल्पिंग मी टू एंड इट ऑल्सो. सो तुम्ही इतली बरे प्रश्न विचारले, थँक्स अ लॉट.